Everyone smile.
All right, yeah, the recording has begun. Thank you for attending. Technical difficulties, we'll say. Started the recording a little bit late. I'm your host, Greg Gaub. We've got most of our usuals: John Kitt, Dennis Sampson, Alan, Graham, Wayne, Mike, Phil, Lance, Chris. The gang's all here.
What number is this?
And Brian was
49.
joyously showing off some new car purchases. Do you want to do that again, Brian?
I can't get my video to work.
Well, Brian's video is working. Let me see if I can help you out there. Luff. Let me find you in the list there. Old Spy Racer. Did you get a little button to tap
There
on?
you go.
There he is.
There he is. Okay. Go ahead, Brian. I will spotlight you. And
All right.
Hey,
So
Brian, what you got?
take it away again.
someone was asking a question.
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, hey, guess what I got today?
Where have you been shopping?
Did they come like an hour ago?
Yeah, literally. They showed up just about an hour. Well, maybe about an hour and 10 minutes now.
Wait,
But,
I want to guess.
You want to,
You got a Viper.
Oh man,
how'd you know?
This is turned into a comedy. Honestly.
Are they front motored?
they are.
All right, everybody, let Brian do his thing here.
I've taken them all off the base.
Hold them still for a minute. Nice, nice. Hey, yellow and blue.
Show us the bottom.
Oh yeah. Ooh, definitely fly.
Yeah.
Definitely fly. So
Yeah,
that was
those motors are a little hotter than the regular fly
The
motors. So
standard motor.
Yeah,
Yeah. That blue motor's faster.
you just need to watch the center bearing on those things, Brian. Make sure that they're well. Put a little hot glue on them so they don't pop out.
Yeah, I did read that. I noticed some people talked about they didn't like the fact that the bearing was so far away from the pinion as well. I guess on some of the early ones, there was some slop in the back end and it caused some issues. But
Well, those with those motors, if you put silicon tires on them, sometimes they chatter and hop like crazy.
And they
Nice.
look sweet going around the track. That's
Where'd you
nice.
get those from,
Very
Brian?
sweet.
these were from Pro Tinker Toys. The 3-pack was $69.99 for all 3 cars.
Dang.
You know, and that someone was talking about possibly ordering a chassis from someone. But see, to me, it doesn't make sense to buy an inexpensive car than throw the same amount for the type of stuff I do. You know, to throw a bunch of parts in it, make it run like a slot-it when for less money I can buy a slot-it. So these will be fine in stock form for me. They'll probably get a tire upgrade.
Well, plus, Brian, you can race them against themselves, and it'd be a great fun.
Exactly. Now, Dennis thought maybe this white car might be a little newer one. Lighting here is terrible, guys. I'm
Just
sorry.
hold it still, little focus.
Oh, there you go.
Show us
But
the
if you
bottom of
look-
that one. Is that one different?
Yeah, this one is different. The vents aren't open on the hood. They're closed. The spoiler's quite a bit different,
There, you got it, perfect.
and there's
Okay.
no diffuser on the back. And also, different motor.
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking this might be an older car. This says a 10th anniversary, and I don't know if that was the 10th anniversary for Fly. The other cars are from the car is from, one is from 2004 and one is from 2002. So you got to assume they came out after that. But nice detail. The cars look great. Like I said, for the price, I mean, what, less than 25 bucks a piece?
Yeah.
You know, kind of hard to beat. Like I said, we're non-competitive mag racers here. You know, we measured it the other day. The track's 73.5 feet. So I think these will do well for us. You know, probably, you know, true up the tires a little bit. I know these have a reputation for having very sloppy front axles as well. They use stub axles because of the front end. Obviously, you can see that's an
Yeah.
issue.
I like that.
But we'll see. I mean, they look like golden cars. I didn't have any Vipers in the collection.
Yep.
So, you
A
know,
little bit
for
messing around, it'll go good.
worst comes to worst, they run like crap. I'll 3D print something for them. But until then, I'm going to run them as is.
To be fair, they don't run any worse than the Scalextric Vipers, which are also front motored.
Well, I have a few front motored cars. I have a couple Scalextric Vets. I have a Monogram Vet. I have another Monogram Mustang, 66 Mustang.
Hey,
And, you know,
Alan's showing us something.
There you go. Those are my Fly Viper pair. And I bought these as a late night impulse eBay purchase. And just because I really, really like the livery and I like the look of the Viper. And these are the one with the front vents that are open. But I really like the Orica paintwork, and it's the same layout with the Fly front motor and the long diffuser. But I put these on the track, and they were just genuinely dreadful. There was nothing I could do to get them to work. I've got a feeling that these are just designed to be magnet cars, and magnet cars on a Carrera type track, not magnet cars on a Scalextric type track. So if you put these on a Scalextric or Scalextric Sport, they suck down so hard to the rails they don't move. So you know, you have to be even to get them to move, you have to start to do some tuning. But I just bought these because I really like the livery, but they're too narrow. They're only about 57, 58 wide. So for the class of racing I do, they'll never make a GT car or a sports car, but I love them to look at.
I mean, you can't deny that the fly cars in general are fantastic looking cars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Graham.
Well, they
I
moved
bought
the
a
game on, didn't they? You know, we had Scalextric, obviously, you know, looking at ready to run stuff. Scalextric and obviously SCX Spanish version. Ninko came along and sort of opened everyone's eyes, game changer. And then sort of a few years later, Fly popped along and think, wow, these actually look like real scale cars, you know. They just moved the game on.
What you got, Graham?
I went the Fly road too lately.
Oh, those are sidewinders though.
Playboy BMW M1, but a sidewinder.
Yeah, that's my first
Fly car.
Yeah. Oh, and the
Fly
race.
car in the display box, right?
Yeah.
They run good. And I'm waiting for tires to come in. They're on order. I bought two of these. They're more Fly M1s, but they're the pod ones, the ones that I was looking for.
Nice.
Those are the racing versions.
Yeah,
They're the
and
ones-
That's a rocket of a car, actually.
they run really good, and they already have Paul gauge tires in the back. I bought two of these, and they came as a kit. So they got the aluminum wheels and set screws. You can adjust the front axle height by set screws. They run really good. I don't have a big track set up right now, plastic track, but I do have a routed, smaller 2 foot by 4 foot test track set up, and they run really well. I also got a Ferrari Fly, and I'm quite happy. Well, I'm going to put some different paint because I got a couple of these in white, so I might paint a roof a different color or find some livery I like, you know. But they run really good, and once I put on the Paul gauge tires in the back, they just stick to my little test track that I run them on. So they run great. But the big deal was they were $25 Canadian.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
really?
Brand
Where did you
new,
get them?
brand new.
Actually-
And not only that, it was 20 minutes from my house. There was no shipping.
Wow. I mean, the guy should have just given them away. It would probably be cheaper.
He still has them on sale. It's a place called Slot Grand Prix, in case you guys want to write it down.
Yeah.
And he's in Aldergrove, British Columbia, and he's 20 minutes from my house. And I know him, I bought from him. He's a Scalextric dealer out of his house, you know, slot dealer out of his house. But he was clearing out a bunch of flies. I don't know if they're still on sale, but there were 4 for $100.
Wow.
And I
Yeah,
just,
because those are great cars. The hardest
I-
front tires I think I've ever seen on a
Oh.
And that's
OEM
just
slot car.
fine.
that's the thing. These are like 2003, right? So the
Yeah.
tires, some of them you get, and the tires are just gone already. You can't even get them off the rim in one piece.
Yeah.
You know, so because they are old. It's just like all those Corvettes I think I showed you. I bought from Pro Tinker there, you know, a few weeks ago. You know, I bought 6 Corvettes, right? You know, that was $100 US or something for 4 of them. But and they're the fly cars. They work great. I love the ones with the pods. I've been looking for more of these, and The aluminum wheels, the set screws are fun to put together because you take your car apart anyway. At least I do when you buy them, you know. So it was a good deal at $25 a car.
Damn straight.
But you got
Oh.
big.
There's a Viper.
Yeah, Dennis, here is the one with the, I'll just see if I can get it in focus better. It's a very early fly because it's only got the outside vents. So I'll just see if I can
Uh-huh.
get in. It's only got the vents on the outside of the guards or the fenders over there, and a custom paint job by a friend of mine. Is a very, as I said, very old. There's the 3D printed chassis underneath, and I believe that the pod is one of the Divas 3D pods from a guy down in Florida, Jeremy, down in
Yeah,
Florida.
Days that Jeremy was doing them, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the interior is the full interior, so the FF motor has allowed me to sneak it under there
Cool.
without any modifications.
Nice.
Those rims are actually plafit or playfit, if you call it that.
Mhm.
Japanese rims. I picked them up from some modeling place on eBay, and
But
I
still but still for a 332nd axle.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, for a
Okay.
332nd, they're
Because
unusual.
most of the Pleffert stuff is 3mm.
That's correct. Yeah, so I snapped up the 5 pairs while I could get them. So yeah, okay, thanks.
Apparently, Ryan has more things to show off. What else did you get in the mail, or what else do you want to show off, Ryan?
I saw a circuit.
I didn't have anything else to show, but the one guy was saying these, oh, where'd y'all go? I lost you.
You turned off your video.
There we go.
He says they don't run very well. I just thought I'd take this and set it on the track and see what we got.
Good.
I mean, that's a subjective statement. So,
Yeah.
does the car go? Yeah, the car goes.
I was just about to say, don't crash. It'll be quite embarrassing.
Well, I am trying to hold the tablet at the same time, so.
Okay,
There you go. The racing driver excuses.
I like that layout.
It goes. Yeah, it's quite flowing, isn't it?
I like it. Yeah, that's a
Nice.
nice layout.
Thank you.
Looks like
Yeah.
fun to me.
Yeah, that doesn't look too bad.
Nope.
Looks great.
So it's
I
all-
think for the type of stuff we do, these will work out just nice.
Cool.
All right. Anybody else got any show and tell?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got
Great.
something.
Go ahead, Phil, and then we'll get to Mike.
well, I was just gonna throw in that, I may have spoken with a little disfavor about those Fly Vipers. And like I said, I've given away about 10 of them, but I didn't give away, well, let me turn off my back.
I was going to say your background.
This
This
is Monty Python from
Yeah.
beginning to end out there, man.
Just use the
John and I are
whole
sitting here
background and all. There we
absolutely,
go.
and Wayne absolutely
so-
collapsed with that.
So I may speak disfavorably about flies, and I gave away about 10 of them away. And some of them, the problem was the stub axles eventually wobbled so much the front tires, they would rub the wheel wells, and then the car would run really poorly. But you can see, I've got a few of these still remaining. You just saw some of the liveries from the other guys, but there's the 4 that I have out of the box that I still run. And then there's the one that I have that's still in the box. I got them all brand new in the box for about $30 about 2015. And I had run into a guy, and he literally had Fly cars in the cases from the manufacturer in the cardboard boxes they shipped to distributors in. And he must have had 40 cases of brand new Fly cars under his slot car track, and he had 400 loaners on a shelf. So he had a lot of cars. They weren't every car he owned wasn't a Fly, but that's how many cars that guy had. And a lot of them were new. And my birthday was the 22nd, whatever day that was. I think it was Monday.
Just the other
Anyhow,
day.
I got 6 decades in, and I've always wondered, why doesn't Scalextrics make any Ferrari F1 cars?
Licensing.
Yeah, it's licensing. But my fiance, she found this one, spank brand new, still in the box, ready to go. And so that's the Michael Schumacher F1 car from 2004. is that year. But I thought, man, they should make more Ferraris. They are so sweet.
That's
You
the
know.
that's the pre-Carrera licensing years when
Yep,
everybody was still making.
Yeah, when everybody else was making them. So
Will that be the one that's got the hardened steel axle and bronze and bushings?
you know, I haven't even taken it off of the out of the packaging yet.
I think the ones that came in the cardboard boxes like that were slightly upgraded compared to most.
Could
Yeah, it's
be.
a sport one. It says on the
Yeah,
box.
it's hard to tell looking down in it, but it's a really nice looking car. And you know, this webcam's not doing the color any justice. But
Well, when you get into the mood to give those other Vipers away, you just let me know. I'll give you my address.
as soon as the stub axles start banging against the front wheel wells, you know, the tires do, I usually just give up on them. I've gone through a lot of process trying to fix those stub axles, and they were difficult. But I have to say, they did get a lot of mileage on them before they went bad. And we still in our club have them in a class. So I kept a few that I can just have enough of them where when the club runs that class, I've got a Viper to go out there and mix it up with the guys. And I think I might have showed you this. It might be politically incorrect, but I've always wanted one of these. My nephew and I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard when he was a boy, and he would dance in the living room and sing the Dukes of Hazzard song, bobbing back and forth to the beat. And then he'd sit down, and it was the only time that kid was not trying to wrestle with you or jumping all over the place. Every week I knew there was peace when the Dukes of Hazzard came on. And just love that show. Love to watch it. You know, I still look when I see an episode online or something, I still stream it. It's just a fun show. So
Must be those Daisy Dukes.
oh, yeah, those Daisy Dukes were pretty good, you know. And, you know,
yeah.
Do you know how many? Do you know how many General Lees there were?
Like
something
seven,
like 7 General Lees.
It was-
7?
it
Any
was
advance
a
on
lot.
7? Anyone?
I think
Yeah,
it was.
more like 700.
I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was in the double digits.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
it was more. It was about 360 odd.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, I
They
think
actually-
this, I think
Every jump destroyed a General Lee, pretty much.
I came across it in a quiz, in a Zoom quiz
Oh, very
recently. How
cool.
many General Lees were there? There's actually only about 5 or 6 of them left in various states of disrepair.
Okay. Okay.
Most of them are runners,
Yeah.
but they actually lost count of how many that they wrecked.
Wow.
I'm gonna take off a tangent on that. I'm a Dukes of Hazzard boy as well. You know, I grew up all over the country. My dad was in the Army, but that was definitely one of my enjoyable shows.
It was just fun.
I find what's interesting to me is that it's you know, nostalgic for a lot of people, especially like me and like you and your son.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's also polarizing for some people because of the Southern thing and the
flag and all that.
the flag, especially the flag. Yeah. And what's interesting is that when you actually think about the content of the shows, the episodes, the stories, it's a very progressive show, especially for the time being shown. I mean,
in the early
all
mid-70s.
all kinds of liberal agenda stuff going on in that show, and yet these are the good old boys, never meaning no harm, with the Dixie flag on the top of the car.
Not only that, but if you looked at the storylines, not only were they, you know, they were pretty progressive, and I'm not. I'm kind of conservative, right? I mean, I'm a registered Republican. You can boo if you want, but you know, I remember the days where you could be a Republican or a Democrat and have your candidate's pin on, you know, and you got the press on button pins and you put them in your hat and you
have a drink with your friends.
Yeah, and you know, the opposing, you know, candidates constituency, you know, and voting public would sit down and enjoy being in each other's company. You know, those days of civility may be long gone, but I still have them. And for me, as politically, you know, difficult having that car is, it sits prominently in my basement.
Well, I'm going to take issue with that car because the Pioneer is so much better. Because it has Luke in it. You can't just have Bo in the car. You got to have Bo and Luke.
Yeah.
Pioneer knocked it out of the park with their
They
General
went one
Lee.
better. They went one better when they put both the Duke boys in there.
and a Daisy Duke figurine.
Yep.
Oh,
And they made different Daisy Dukes. If
Yeah.
you thought, if you like, I accidentally pre-ordered from 2 different places because I thought one didn't go through. So I ended up with 2 General Lees. Of course,
Oh, sweet.
one I took straight out of the box and played with, but
Yeah.
they came with 2 different Daisy Dukes. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like my one shelf queen in my entire collection is the other General Lee that I have. The
Yeah.
other one got torn apart and put all sorts of other upgrade parts in and stuff like that.
yeah.
I was like, it's a
You know,
General hot car.
I came across something the other day. I was watching a documentary, and I hadn't realized that General Lee, the actual general, was the genuine person who signed the surrender agreement on the Civil War.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have, a Southern flag, and you're going to have something called the general, it's that kind of a NASCAR kind of car. It's like, yeah, have the car that commemorates the guy that surrendered.
That surrendered. It
You
said,
know, you can
okay,
defend
that's
that,
enough.
right?
Yeah. That's enough of this war. Let's quit. Let's
Maybe
quit.
that's,
and get on to-
maybe that's why
let's
they
quit and
chose
get
that.
on- Yeah. Let's quit and get on to being common with each other. Let's go that route. Get some slot cars in here. Slot cars are great for race relations.
All right. Now, Mike, did you still have something you wanted to show off?
Oh, yeah.
All right, go for it.
I unfortunately did this again.
Woohoo!
Oh,
Yes, and it's been
Come on.
frustrating as usual.
Hi.
I can't get the thing to load the Arc Pro,
Okay.
no matter what I do.
I'll help you.
there's a
I've
video
tried
on
it with
that on YouTube.
NRF
It's great.
toolbox and everything, and I still it has the slotted oxygen in it originally. It has that in it.
Yeah.
But I can't get it to do the Arc Pro, and for some reason, it definitely is a problem.
So did you register it first?
Yeah, it's registered. There's no problem with that,
Okay.
but I can't download the firmware onto it from the slotted site.
Okay.
It goes partway and then quits
So downloading it from the website quits?
from the slotted website. It stops and then it'll hang up and sit there, and then after a while it'll just say that the software that's in it is the oxygen software.
Oh. Okay, so let's back up a tick here. So step number 1, register the handle with the slotted app.
Done.
At that point, forget about the app. Go to the
Okay.
slotted website using your phone's browser, like Chrome or whatever your.
Except I don't have a smartphone.
Okay, so what do you
You
use?
have
What kind of tablet?
a Android.
Android.
It's a-
Okay, same diff. Android. So after you register the handle with the slotted app on Android, forget about the app for the time being. You said Android, so use your Chrome browser or whatever web browser. Go to slot.it for the slotted website. Go to Oxygen. Go to firmware. Download the ARC firmware for the SCP-3. It's a zip file. You download it to your tablet.
It's been done.
Okay, then you go to the NRF toolbox. And I'm just repeating things you already know. You go to
Yeah.
NRF toolbox, you select that ARC02 handle zip file as the file that you're uploading, and then you got to use emergency DFU mode on the handle. Don't use app mode on the handle.
Oh, how do you get to the emergency?
It's in the SCP-3 instructions. I don't remember the button combination off the top of my head right now.
Oh, okay.
But look through the NFU, look through the SCP instructions for the different startup modes and the different button combinations, and use emergency DFU mode, which basically puts the controller straight into DFU mode as soon as you hold the buttons and turn it on, and then choose the device in NRF toolbox. It'll show up as DFU02 A10 or something like that for handle, and then install the ARC firmware through the DFU on the NRF toolbox. If that doesn't work, I'll be flabbergasted.
Well, it's the problem was I went to the NRF toolbox and then it doesn't show that the zip file is in there when I try to download it.
Okay, so that's the part. The problem with that is that every device and every iteration of the Android operating system, every Samsung and LG and every tablet manufacturer puts in their own version of Android, right?
Oh,
So it doesn't necessarily put those files into the same place as on every other Android device. Most of the time, it's going to be in a downloads folder or some kind of files folder. So that you're probably the trickiest part for you is going to be when you download that file from the Slotted website. Where does it go?
yeah.
And then in the NRF toolbox, you choose file, finding where it went. And so sometimes what you want to do is when it downloads the file, it'll usually say file downloaded and give you a little notification, file downloaded, available in downloads folder or something like that. So you got to figure out where that file went to. So sometimes you choose
Perhaps
where
he can just move that to his desktop.
We're talking about a tablet. There's no such thing as a
Yeah, it's
desktop.
a tablet. Yeah.
So
yeah,
find out what that file goes to, and then once you can locate that file with NRF Toolbox, then use DFU emergency mode in the handle, and then you'll be able to put that in. Now,
okay.
or be patient, because Slotted in a matter of days, I've heard little birdie on my shoulder told me in a matter of the number of days, Slotted will be releasing a new app, new firmware for a variety of products to make this whole process easier for situations like this. So do you want to beat your head up against the brick wall for a little while and try to get it done now?
So what the habits of a lifetime?
Exactly. So it's up to you. So we can help. I can help you more offline if what I'm telling you now doesn't help you get where you need to go. I can help you more. Or hopefully in the next few days we'll get new everything from Slotted, and you can just bing bang boom on the Slotted app on your phone, and everything will work.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is that it shows that the file is there at the NRF toolbox.
Yeah. But
it's not available. It shows as a light colored file. In other words, it's not bold. It's
grayed
reduced.
out.
Yeah, it's fade out.
Okay. So did you watch my video about the autonomous car?
Yes.
So that same technique of choosing the file should work. Basically, if it's grayed out, it's looking for a different type of file. So for whatever reason, it may not have defaulted when you said select file, it may not have defaulted to whatever the distribution packet or something like that.
Yeah.
Make sure it's looking for distribution packets before you try to find the files. Because if it's not looking for the zip packet, it might gray out the zip packet files because it's looking for other file types.
Okay.
And we can mess with that later.
Yeah, that's fine. But I just, that was my experience. Well, I also got some oxygen chips and the dongle. So
hold on again. Hold on. Okay, so you got the Type-C chip and you got the new 3D printed dongle.
And I got the dongle.
And I forget, you have a 3D printer or not?
No.
Okay.
No, I do not.
So the DPR hatch that Slotted provides through Shapeways, wink, wink, will make installing into DPR cars a lot easier. It's not expensive, but if you're not installing it to a DPR car, it doesn't really matter.
Well, I've got enough old DPR hatches lying around that I can just use the ones that I've got.
There you go. Yeah, just glue them on.
Just glue it to it the same way. So.
Oh, come on. That's not.
Don't read. Don't read.
Thank you very much for the comment. Am I the only one who starts humming Christmas carols watching Greg talk? Yeah, wait till my hair grows back. Give me years. It'll be gray, and then you can start humming Christmas carols.
Yeah.
You better watch out, though.
I've been waiting for years.
Better not cry. I'm telling you why.
What's that? You say you better watch out? You better take care?
better not
Better
cry.
not cry.
I know who
Cry.
you are. You're prison Santa, aren't you?
There's a funny tangent. There's a show that my wife's been watching about like magicians and Wolverine and werewolves and whatnot. And they had an episode where Krampus came and was doing its thing, and Santa came to fight the Krampus, and he was this badass, just beating the crap out of the Krampus.
That's kind of like a seasonal version of a Godzilla movie, isn't it?
It was hilarious but fun. So yeah, I'm the badass Santa Claus. You guys don't forget it. Anyways, let's talk about
a couple of.
I think
I got a couple of
Alan has
show and tells
something that he
today, too.
wants to. Oh, sorry, Dennis.
No problem. Go.
I was going to say Alan was showing us something earlier before we started that was very
All
cool.
right, I'm gonna put you guys side by side. You guys fight for it. Go. I'm kidding. Who wants to go first? Alan? Dennis? Okay, Alan goes.
Right,
First. His name
Right,
starts.
this is something I've been doing for a while now. Hydra dipping. So this kind of paintwork, this is a dip called sticker bomb. And
Wow.
you float the ink on top of water and use an activator spray, and then you can drop the body shell in. And you can get these wild and wacky kind of things. I was inspired by the art cars that you see at Le Mans to go and do this. So I've been doing this kind of thing. This is a dip called Mistek, which is much more my kind of thing, an alien, reptilian thing. You know, it's this really, drive it like you stole it and chopped it kind of paint job. And this is one I did today. This is another Mistek. And you can see that I've left some of the green of the Hurricane. I did do a flash over of kind of a grey undercoat, but I let some of the green bleed through because what's underneath the dip matters as much as anything. And so that's what I've got. This is one I didn't show earlier.
You gonna put numbers and sponsors on those things?
Well, I mean, they all have numbers. They're just, clubs are very, they're not specific. They say you must have racing numbers, but they don't say must be racing numbers of a certain format or whatever. So, one of my cars is dipped in $100 bills, something called a tiny dollar. So it's obviously at number 100. So for next Wednesday, Greg, what I'll do is a live dip, just because I was inspired by watching John do the live casting a couple of weeks ago. And I thought what I'll do is I'll do a live dip. So that's something I'll do next week. Okay.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, awesome.
And you buy you buy the graphic already made somehow, and then is it like a film that you peel the backing off and put it on the water?
Tease us some more, Alan.
There you go. There's that's the film. That's a Mistek film.
Okay.
And you float that on top of the water, and then you use an activator spray, and the activator spray separates the ink from this film, this plastic.
Ah, okay.
And then you submerge the body.
Yeah, and shake it around so that it breaks off. Yeah, I've seen that done. It'll be fantastic to see this done.
Now, Alan, my only request is that while you're doing it, someone has to play Smoke on the Water.
Yeah. Okay. We can have background music. I'm sure.
But not the Pat Boone version, right?
On the didgeridoo.
Yeah.
On the didgeridoo, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some blue and yellow for when you do that, and then send the
Oh, that'd be cool.
I love the fact that everybody here still has a sense of humor. I think that's why this bunch gets along so well.
But can you imagine all of us being in one place with alcohol?
There might be something in here.
Hey, Dennis, it's bad enough around the world with alcohol.
All right, you said you had something, Dennis. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been working on these for Electric Dreams. This is one of the Polycar Formula Ones, and we've been working on these. These have peel and stick decals from CG slot cars. The guy Matt McDonough in Massachusetts, who makes the CG slot cars, 3D printed cars and chassis and bits and pieces, is now making a whole range of these peel and stick decals or peel and stick stickers that fit this car. There's one for the Renault. I have one here for the Red Bull.
Oh,
I just haven't put all the pieces on because the cars are going to be packed back into their boxes. And they have a Ferrari. Where's that? Show here.
They want discount now, Dennis. You just damaged that wing, mate.
Oh, they're not assembled, so
It's dry.
it's all dry.
They do look good though, don't they?
They look pretty good. And I mean, the decals are $10 a sheet, which is a little bit substantially less than those Atalaya decals, which I think are like $16 or $17 a sheet for the actual decals. And this takes half the time to do. And it's not quite half as pretty. It's not as pretty, but it's close. And I think for people who don't have the skills to do the decals, to do the peel and stick, because they're pre-cut. Each little individual one is pre-cut on the sheet, so it's just a matter of taking it, of extracting it from a sheet and applying it. So they came out really quite nice.
and have you got the feeling they're going to stay put then?
Yeah, they're thin and they stick well and they seem to stay down.
Do they got
Dennis, did you put any clear coat over them at all?
No. That's exactly the way they were.
Do they look that good as stickers?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a very very thin film, with, as I say, with pretty good adhesive, and the printing is really pretty is good. The registration is good. There are one or two where I felt like these little circles here are the extinguisher circles. So it's a white circle with a red E, but he should really have put a white backing behind the red, because you don't see the E on them. And on one of them, on the Red Bull, where it has all of these pieces around the intake, it gets a little difficult to wrap all of that around. But in general, I mean, for a race car,
well, for stickers, they look fabulous.
They don't look bad at all.
No.
So that's something else that's brand new. Comes from CG Slot Cars in Massachusetts.
Are you familiar with the what's the guy that does the decals down down under?
Patos?
Pato. Yeah.
Are you familiar with his stick-ons?
Yes.
How would you compare them?
These are better than his.
Yeah. Okay. Good, because I thought those were a little thick.
Yeah, they are thick, and I don't know what his printing process is, but this CG Slot Cars printing process is way better. The resolution and the detail is excellent on these. It's really very, very good.
Well, the next question is, do they make a camel set?
Camel set?
Camel, yeah.
A camel.
Camel.
No, not yet, because they're only making for the modern F1 cars, right?
There was never a camel livery for the modern F1s?
No.
Oh, man. Fantasy, baby, come on, fantasy livery.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come. There is a camel fantasy livery for available from Atalaya. They have one for the Renault. They have one for Ferrari. They have a Red Bull.
But those are water slide.
Well, yeah, the Atalaya one's a water slide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a water slide.
Yeah. So far, the only three that CG Slot Cars have released are these three, but I'm pretty sure there'll be more. But I just thought I'd let you know. It looks pretty good.
What's your people buy the quality he's done? It might be a market for the rest of them.
I don't know if you guys spotted this on one of the forums. I've forgotten which forum it was. But I've often thought that I'm not really going to go the polycar F1 route, because I like their classic F1s. I don't really like the idea of that gearbox in a modern F1. I like my modern F1s to be, absolutely crazy, powerful, strong cars. And it seems that Shapeways are now making modern F1 shells with a modern F1 chassis to go with the NSR motor pod of the NSR 8689. Had any of you guys seen that? I mean, is it something you would pursue?
Who's the designer?
I don't remember who the designer is. This was just something I spotted this morning, and I thought that's sort of interesting. I could see how I would do it. It looks very much like a, you know, the cars look very much like an all slot like this. The bodies look very much like an all slot, but underneath, you know, you've got the NSR 8689 motor mount, and they come with the halo. They're proper modern F1 cars. So I don't know how expensive they are, but I'm tempted to have a really good look at that and see whether I can do something with this.
I guess we'll find out when somebody actually looks into that. I heard Chris's voice in there when Dennis was talking. What were you asking, Chris?
No, I was just asking you what your aversion was to water slides.
I just don't have enough experience with them, and I tend to tear them up and make a mess of things.
Well, if it's not that hard, and if you do buy the camel sheet, there's no big long stripes or anything. They're just like individual camel semicircle logo things, right? So
that would be an easy one for me to do.
You couldn't pick an easier sort of thing to go with if you wanted.
Yeah.
And water slides, you can get direct, you can put water slides on with like a 30-second directions and they'll look stunning.
And then
they're easier to put on, to be honest with you. They're easier to put on than those bloody peel and sticks, especially when you get the long.
I've got
to keep it straight. It's more pliable than what ones, Greg.
I grew up with Transformers toys, and in the 80s, Transformers came with children applied stickers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were pre-applied, but then you had a sticker sheet that you had to apply. And I was proud of being able to get those damn things on nice and straight. So I have experience with sticking on stickers, but very little with sliding on.
Hold on, you're saying that it's demographically driven then?
There might be some demographics in there. There might be. I mean, it's just an experience thing. You know, everybody's more comfortable with the thing they've done a lot and less comfortable with the thing they haven't done very much. But I appreciate the encouragement. And I will ask two more questions. If I were to paint, get a white kit, and then I have some Tamiya rattle cans in the yellow that I like. If I were to just hose that white kit down with Tamiya rattle cans, should I do anything prior to putting on the Atalaya slide-ons? And then after I put on the slide-ons, what should I do?
So you're gonna paint the body.
Yes.
With Tamiya camel yellow, which is the yellow you want. They make 3.
Of course, I'll do camel yellow.
Okay, and then you're gonna put stickers on it.
I'm gonna put slide-on decals on it. Yes.
Okay, and then what do you want to do?
I want to make sure that the decals don't get destroyed if I rub the wall.
Okay, I would probably, since you're going yellow, I would probably put some Future on top of it.
I have a bottle of Future.
Okay, I would do that. Some of the Tamiya acrylics can be a little hot, and they may dissolve the stickers a little bit if you don't put it on very, 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 very light.
So how would you recommend that a non-airbrushing person would apply?
Wide brush.
Just
wide brush.
Really?
Just put the Future on with a brush. Tamiya is very good at being self-leveling. It's very, very thin, so it won't hold brush marks. And if you do have any issues whatsoever, it's easy to take it off if it globs on too much with just Windex. Ammonia dissolves Future. And if you want to polish it up, you can use some very fine polishing compound, Tamiya polishing compound. You can make it look gorgeous if you want.
Yeah, if you see the video, Yeah, Greg, if
Those
you see the
little-
video I did with the Morgan, that's what I used was Future over all the decals that I put on.
The little
mean,
foam brush is the easiest way. A little 1-inch wide foam brush.
Foam brush. Okay.
Yeah, Greg, can I
Foam
can I
bristle.
share quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, of course, yeah, sorry.
I was using soft, very soft paint brushes, basically.
Yeah, a bristle brush will work, yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep.
So that's the Atalaya Camel decal set.
Easy to put on, Greg.
Yeah.
It's done. It's made for the NSR Formula One, but it would fit on pretty much anything.
Yeah.
I might have to add some blue to that.
Heresy,
Do the rear wing,
heresy,
Drew.
heresy.
The front wing.
It's going to be inherently a
Get some
fantasy
yellow
delivery
stickers too. I
anyway.
like that.
That's fine, but I mean that's what Chris was saying about the individual decals. None of them are very big. The biggest one, right, would be a camel of any one of these. You know, every one of these is an individual sticker, except that little one on the nose. That's 2. But you can cut them out because you have to cut them yourself,
Yeah.
right? They don't float off as a single piece. So you have to cut close around the edges of them. So you can decide for yourself how big the piece is that you want to apply at a time, right? I mean, I could have probably cut off of the decal sheet the way that it's printed. I could have cut this camel on the nose, the camel script, the camel itself, the number 1, the Alpha and the Honda logo, all in one piece if I wanted to. But when I did this one, I did I did each one individually so that I could get the spacing the way I wanted.
Well, you could do it in 3 parts, couldn't you?
Yeah,
The
you
Honda
could.
Elf is one, number 1 and the camel, and then the top camel and the small. You could split it in
Just
3
to-
bits, couldn't you?
Yeah, John, it just depends on how it was printed on the sheet. And as I recall, on those sheets, they were printed in such a way that you could have done exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys are really good now. The Atalaya stuff, they printed on the sheet pretty much like it was a flattened out top view of the car. So you know exactly where everything goes in relation to everything else, right? The pieces along the upper part of the body behind the driver are right in the middle of the sheet, and anything that's out on the sides of the pods is right on the outside of the sheet. And the rear wings stickers are at one end, and the front wing stickers are at the other end of the sheet. So that kind of thing makes it a little more intuitive for the car.
Dennis, can I ask you something specific about how you're doing the paintwork there? Because it's a completely different approach than the one I use. If you're not using a spray lacquer, a spray finisher over the entire body, how do you make sure that the car really kind of shines that luster that you really want?
This is what Chris was calling Future, which is an acrylic floor wax or floor polish that we buy in the grocery store.
Okay.
It used to be called Future. It's now called Pledged with Future Shine. Comes from a company called SC Johnson, and it's available in the cleaning section of just about any grocery store in the US.
Right. Now,
And
Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong. It's basically clear acrylic, right?
it's a clear acrylic, yes.
Yeah.
But it's very thin and it's self-leveling and it doesn't make bubbles. And then what I do is I pour a little bit out into a very flat container. I dip the tip of the 1-inch wide foam brush in it, being careful not to generate bubbles. And then you start from the top of the body and you paint downwards so that you get drips down the side, and you just let it flow. Right. I mean, I've seen guys who actually will pour the Future into a tub, take the body and dip the whole body in the tub, and then let it drip off. And now I'm too chicken to do that because I'm going to screw something up somewhere. So I do it with a foam brush. But what I do notice is you need to do it once.
Right.
You need to try and put a single coat on. Don't try and touch it up, because as soon as you start touching up, you're dead. Then you got to strip it all off and start again.
Yeah, modelers who make a lot of aircraft use it for their canopies all the time.
Right. It's spectacular on glass.
Yeah.
Alan, do you run lane stickers on your cars in your club?
Yeah, we do. Analog racers run lane stickers. You know, it's normally normally insulation tape
Lane stickers.
colored. Wherever we don't have a decal, really.
Yes. The only issue with future, and this happens a lot, is depending on your lane stickers can pull future and the underlying decals right off the body shell.
Yeah, especially if you're using the insulation tape type.
Yeah.
Did I show you guys this? Sorry, Greg, can you just put this camera?
Sorry, let me stop sharing. There you go.
Got that one. So this
There was
is one. Did I show you this? I might have shown you this before. This is an all slot. These are all slot slide-on decals.
Okay.
And it's Halford's Auto body spray. It's just a rattle can, and it's also a spray-on varnish finisher lacquer.
Right.
And you know it works great, and you can build the lacquer up in layers. So very thin layer and more, and then more, and then a bit more. But really, I mean, this is for Greg. What I found is the critical thing with slide-on decals is make sure they are dry before you apply any kind of lacquers. Yeah. You can slide on with water, and you know, unlike other things like Hydra Dip, you can get away with it really quickly and put lacquer on quite quickly. But with decals, there's always something that hides underneath the decal. If you start lacquering over that, that's going to bubble and crease and wrinkle and all sorts of stuff. So when I did this, I think I left it a week just on the window shelf before putting any lacquer on at all. And you know that would be my tip for doing that kind of thing.
Very good advice.
I'm very impatient, so that's going to be the hard part.
So am I.
Well, you also have to be careful about what you put lacquer over. Lacquer over acrylic is not always a good mix. You can put acrylic over lacquer, but you can't always put lacquer over acrylics. So
I was just going to ask because I think I have a rattle can of Tamiya Clear that I use as well. So it sounds like that would be okay to put over the decals, but
totally fine. Yes,
and then clear over that.
No, if you've got Tamiya Clear, you've got a Tamiya can of spray paint, right? Clear spray paint.
I got
that's your top coat.
Okay.
So decals go on, and they depending on the size of the decal, you might need to wait 3 or 4 days. If there's any moisture under the decal, the lacquer will react with it, and as Alan said, it'll bubble and crinkle and do whatever.
I think I've maybe waited like a day to be sure, but apparently that's not long enough.
Not enough. The second issue is that Tamiya acrylics are quite hot. And if put on in wet coats, they will completely destroy and melt and rot and do all kinds of bad things to the decals underneath. So depending on the color of the car, you can do a quick brush on over the decals with future, let that dry for a day or two, and then go at it with a Tamiya acrylic spray. Or you can do 2 or 3 mist coats of Tamiya over the decals, and every half hour another mist coat and let it build up.
So we haven't had Mr. Schwartz on for quite a while. What was his thing? Because I remember he was talking about coats that are just like indestructible. I forgot what his thing was.
Well, I mean, Tamiya TS sprays are as durable as anything you're going to find out there.
So treat my Tamiya Clear as gold.
Yep, it's great stuff. It's just hot. You just have to, get used to applying it and building up. If you're an impatient guy, give it to one of your friends.
Dennis, I'll be contacting you.
Be like that.
If you're an impatient guy, use future.
Well, I mean, even with future, it sounds like you got to be patient about letting the decals dry.
Yeah, but not that dry because it's acrylic. It goes straight on.
Yeah, and the future dries in about 20 minutes.
And it doesn't react with any residual moisture in the decal.
You're fine with it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And actually, it's very, by volume, it's not very expensive at all.
I got a
Oh,
big.
no. I've only ever bought one bottle in 15 years of racing slot cars.
Right, and you still got 3/4 of it left.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I gave some to a friend of mine, so I have about half of it left.
Yeah, but still, it'll last.
Yeah, I think I didn't buy any until it was already pledged with Future Shine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as durable, Greg.
Yeah. Okay.
True.
And if it's not bad for driving around, if you're going to put lane stickers on it, it is quite suspect.
Gotcha. Fortunately, I rarely use lane stickers, and
which is fine.
And I mean, when I race with Alan at his scale racing center, lane stickers I de rigueur, so I would probably not race a car that I had painted myself in the first place.
But Chris, I mean, even if it gets scratched up a little bit, it's usually easy to touch up with another coat.
Oh yeah, you can yeah, it's very easy. You can use compound on it. You can, polish it up and start again. And yeah, no, it's good stuff. I've just had a couple of experiences over time, and I've seen lots of cars in the commercial raceway that we put lane stickers on, pulled them off, and it's pulled off the Future and the decals underneath, and that can be quite aggravating.
Especially if you spent long hours making a beautiful car and you're like, holy crap, what the fuck?
Right. I got a couple of quick things, if you don't mind.
Please.
Sure.
Very quick. This is based on all the guys with the fly cars with stub axles. See that?
Oh yeah, the replacement axle thing.
So any stub. This is not a front motored car. This is a Chevron, but the position of the front body post inhibits a solid axle going through. So you can do a variation of this with a front motor. I basically take the axle out, put 2 bits of brass tube, 3/32 inside diameter brass tube right through, then put an axle through that to align everything, then glue these brass tubes in. And then I've used bits of axle with a washer soldered onto the axle, poked through, and then the wheel just set screws on the outside. So that completely eliminates
wobble.
Any wobble on the front end. So lots of fixes for the fly cars. I mean, there's a bunch of things back here. I drill a little hole in the motor box so I can route the wires through and down, not over, which gives me clearance on the interior and tubes on the side to just sort of clean everything up. So,
and Chris, are those pieces of unshrunk heat shrink tubing?
Sorry?
Are those pieces, those wire guides, are they pieces of unshrunk shrink tube?
Little bits of styrene, evergreen styrene tubing.
Nice.
Very, very clean, Chris, as always.
Well, I got one more. I'm building a car. This is for, what's this for? This is for the World Championship. You're in this, are you not, Dennis?
I mean, you have to finish the sentence first.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is,
Oh,
you're building, are you doing a Porsche for this World Championship thing, Dennis?
Proxy?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. This is for a Proxy that Dennis is not in. This is the Porsche 956 962 World Championship Proxy. So this one started out as a white kit, lots of decals, and I used Tamiya clear coat on this. I'm using a lot of.
Hold on, you said this is a Porsche specific Proxy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to either it's got to.
It's not even Porsche specific. It's slotted 962, 956 specific.
Yeah. So, and then there's a series of modifications we can and can't do. But anyway, on the Tamiya, back to the Tamiya, I use a lot of Tamiya semi-gloss, which gives a better luster. I find gloss paints look a little bit porcelainy, toy-like. So I think the semi-gloss looks a little bit better under them. And then underneath, one more.
Well, it's Chris, it certainly looks better for photography as well.
Well, yeah, this was done on I wish I could say that, but this was done on a pretty gray day.
Looked pretty good to me.
And then the chassis that's going under there for this
I'm not judging the contest though.
is actually, that's a lie. I have lied to you folks. That's not.
Oh, well, everything is
not again.
Can't believe anything now.
That's it.
That's it.
Forget it.
Credibility
Chris,
out
I'm gonna kick you
a
out.
1/32 scale window.
No more Chris Walker. See ya.
Oh, this is what's half done going under there. So it's a slotted with a scale auto pod. This is a rubber tire Proxy, so we're getting there in terms of the rear tires have been polished a little bit more and coated a little bit more, and they're actually a little bit nicer now and a little bit stickier. So
it looks like you did rear tire treatment to the front tires.
Front tires, yes, it does look that way.
However,
it's not. The front tires for this, in some of the races, some of the organizers will let you coat the front tires. So the front tires here have just been coated in CA.
Okay.
Coat, that looks like a snowsuit.
Well,
how do you get such a, okay, I've done CA coating on front tires. I've never gotten them that shiny.
Yeah, they're incredibly shiny. Yeah.
Well, there you go. See?
The trick is
you can do that.
You true the tires, you coat the tires, you sand the tires, you true the tires, you coat the tires.
No, just I put them on the truer, clean them all up, and these are zero grips, so they cut a little smoother than like a normal rubber tire would for the front. So, and then I've got a couple of tire truers. So I use like the Professor motor or the tire razor with 2 tires. Throw both wheels and tires on an axle, put them in the tire truer, spin them very, very slowly, let them turn. And then I dip a Q-tip into a bottle of CA and touch the Q-tip to the tire as they spin. And so start on one edge, like I'll put the Q-tip here as they're spinning, and I'll just go drag it across the tire.
You got some surgeon hands, buddy, because I can never not have lines when I do that.
Well, if you put, you might need a couple of coats of CA.
Okay. And then you don't sand them after that.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a lot. I mean, if you look really closely, these are
Small grey is a good.
Okay, so this is photos are lying to me, is what you're saying.
That's right.
I've been able to achieve that finish.
The photos.
See, I knew it. These are all been retouched, haven't they?
That's right.
The little marks and stuff. Yeah.
Now that's not allowed anymore. Models are not allowed to be retouched and photo retouched. You know, it's against the law. People are getting upset.
Wayne, you said you get that kind of you get that kind of finish. Wayne.
Yeah, I've been able to get that kind of finish, but the amount of glue that I've had to put on has left the tire out of round. So
yeah,
I
that's
then
why
put
I usually sand them, and then
I go back to the sander and then finish them again, and then they get that fogged appearance.
Yeah, that's why
which is perfectly fine. You know, the appearance doesn't really matter as long as you're around.
What I wanted to ask Chris before they took the picture away is, how did you get your backs looking that good? Are they wet at the time or what?
No, that's just a combination. That's mainly lighter fluid, shellite to you guys.
Yeah, lighter fluid.
And those are the N18s, N22s, NSRs?
No, those are ultra grips.
Bullshit.
NSR.
And are you doing the final polish with a cloth or?
Yes, you put your finger in a cloth.
Yeah.
You wet the cloth with the lighter fluid and you rub it across the tire. That's how you get that.
So is
that
there
shine.
much? Is there much of a benefit for going that far with the surface finish? Because every time I've just left them at sanded, just light, fine sandpaper, and just run them from there. They're always dull. I have seen people who gloss their tires up, and I've always wondered whether or not that actually takes them a step further in terms of contact area, or is it just to look good?
A little bit of both. The smoother you get the tire, there's a beginning and a quick end to this whole explanation. The shinier they are, the more they will dispel any bits of dust and stuff on the track. So they won't pick up the stuff from the track.
So basically, he'll get a good result in the first one or two races, and then it'll be
first one or two laps. Like, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, they go dull after 5 laps or so, but it does allow you to break them in really well.
Yeah.
From my experience, when the guys in my analog club get tires that look like that, their grip doesn't fade as quickly as when I do not quite that.
Yeah.
Because I've only run on, well, primarily Scalextric track, and I've seen people's tires that look like that, but only for such a short period of time.
Yes.
But they've done it with WD-40. They've done a similar process, but they've lathered the thing. They lather the tire in WD-40 and just leave it there, and it looks wet, and then dries out without ever stopping looking wet.
That degrades the rubber and makes it really, you're getting a lot of degradation of the rubber with all of that WD-40, and so the tires don't last as long. They're really soft and they grip, but they don't last as long.
I've got a friend who swears by cleaning his track surface with WD-40 on a cloth.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
And it does, it goes shiny, glossy black for a little while.
Both the clubs I go to.
Only a couple. You're really only gaining a few laps of having that grip over the guys who don't put quite that much work into it. But if it looks
Sometimes
like
that's all you need.
If it looks like that and it's not dry to the touch, then I don't want to race that car. One of the rules that in the analog club that I race with is tires must be dry. They don't care what it looks like or what you've been putting on it, but if it's got shit on it, it's not going on the track.
Yeah. That's normal for us too. Everywhere we go, they want the tires dry before they hit the track.
Yeah, those tires, being as shiny as they are completely dry.
Yeah.
The shine is, it sort of looks, when guys look at it, it's like, ooh, look at that.
It's bragging rights is what it is.
Part of it is just pure mind games.
Yeah.
But the smoother surface, it does not have to be shiny. If you can get a nice smooth surface on your tire,
can do that.
It sheds dust and dirt much better, so you'll have grip longer into the heat.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Alan?
Yeah, you already picked that up about, no wet tires on track. None of the clubs I go to allow anything that's wet on the track. It's just not allowed. I mean, that's including braid treatments as well, or even, over-oiled bushings. There's nothing wet allowed on the cars at all.
Right.
How do they check the braids? Do they touch them and put paper on them and stuff? Or
I've seen one of the scrutineers at one club run a tissue paper across the braids. So one club prohibits inox, that lubricant.
I love me
because they run urethanes, and if you have any kind of lubricants on the track, that messes up the grip. So
and if their braids are wet with inox, that would absolutely be a problem.
Totally. Yeah. So
hey, the very first time I ever tried that, honestly, I thought I'd done something. I didn't know what I'd done. I thought it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
And that's why people use too much of it is the problem. It works so well then they use too much of it and it doesn't work so well. And then you get wet.
Yeah.
Get
I
wet
was handed a bottle at my wood track club over in North Wales, slot car club, and they said just put the tiniest possible drop on your braid with this. And needless to say, I had to go home with the bottle that night. It was just astounding. It was just the last run of the night, and I'd actually been running one of those Fly 911s like Brian showed us a couple of weeks ago. And that night was the night that I discovered that the braid on there as standard was too stiff for the copper taped track. I was getting the car stuttering and stammering, and yet the guide and the braid and everything was OEM, brand new. And during the interval between driving, marshalling, because they're 5-minute heats and there's generally 4 of them, you drive one, you marshal one, you're off for one, and then you're driving again. That's a 3-heat round. But anyway, sometimes it's 3. You get my point. So I had 5 minutes to try and change braids. And I went to my braid packet, started scissoring some braids and replacing the braids on the car, and managed to get the car to work how I wanted it to. That was after the 2nd run. And for the 4th run, somebody gave me a bottle of that juice and just said, just put the tiniest little drops on. And that 4th run, the way the car, it was off like a scolded cat off the line, and it remained for I think all of the race, but it took a little getting used to, and it was my quickest run of the night, despite not being in the best lane. But yeah, I'm sold on that. I love that inox stuff.
There are other compounds like inox. The one that we can get here is a product called Marvel Mystery Oil. If you go to the auto spare store, and there's these little red bottles of Marvel Mystery Oil, and really what it is it's a type of automatic transmission fluid. So it's a light oil, but it has some kind of detergent in it as well, and that stuff keeps braids cleaner than I've ever seen anything. And
what is Marvel Mystery Oil sold to the automotive market to do?
Yeah, it's all automotive stuff. Yeah.
And what's it meant to do in the automotive industry?
It's they use it as they generally use it as an additive to oil or as an additive to fuel. I can't remember what it says on the bottle. I have a bottle here.
There's a lot of automotive related chemicals that people have been using for slot car purposes.
Marvel Mystery Oil, top cylinder lubrication. Yeah. I keep this old can because this is one of the original tin cans. Nowadays, when I buy it, it's in a plastic bottle, and I decant it back into this can because I'll throw the plastic bottle away, but I'm never going to lose this can.
Dennis, you're just waiting. You're waiting for American Pickers to come and give you an offer on that.
I mean, just look at the graphics on it. It's awesome. So cool. Yeah. It's real old school stuff, right? Marvel Mystery Oil.
Oh, I think it said they're not to be used on slot cars.
Yeah.
Distinctive characteristics, it says here, is a product of the finest quality. It is light-bodied but higher in film strength than many of the heaviest oils in use. It is friction-reducing, wear-resistant, gum-solvent, and penetrating.
Yeah,
it is heat-resisting and when subjected to the high heats of internal corrosion, blah, blah, blah. Right, can be added to conventional oils, but will prevent sticky hydraulic valve lifters and counteracts harmful combustion residue.
And if you keep reading, the bottle's so old, it's also a dessert topping.
Yeah.
One of the things that inox is famous for is being lanolin based and being a mixture of
I've read that,
oil, and there are lots of products that will give you the same benefits of inox, but one of the things that those of us who've been using inox for a while have found is that you don't have to keep using it. It lasts forever and ever. It doesn't dry out. It doesn't gum up. It doesn't do the things that a lot of the other products do.
This is the thing.
Does it just prevent like accumulation of dirt in the braid?
When I did the research a few years ago to find out why a non-conductive oil helps, basically the physics of it is that the oil prevents the arcing of the metal contact, and so by virtue of you stabilizing that metal to metal contact, you increase its effectiveness. So a lot of products have the same efficacy, but not as many products have the same staying power. And you know, a
So
$10
on that,
bottle of
on that
inox
basis,
will last you
then,
longer than you'll ever need. I'm still on my same bottle that I bought 10 years ago, and I've got most of the bottles sitting there because I never have to reapply it.
so on that
Updating
basis,
the
then,
bottle,
if it's basically a spark reducer and it's reducing the potential for sparks occurring in your braid, then is it any good on a commutator?
No, well, don't put anything on your, no.
So
Do not
if
put
you have a
stuff
really
in
shitty
your
motor, you might get it to last a little longer. But yeah, Chris, as Chris was saying, don't be putting shit in your motors that don't need to be there.
Wayne, it's being an oil based, it will
Burn.
adversely affect your motor brush and cause it to deteriorate and rot a little bit, for lack of a better term. The bits will fill up the slots in between
Yeah, yeah.
and short the whole bloody thing out. So if you're into drag racing and every single 0.6 of a second run, you take your motor apart and clean it all out and cut the comm again and put it all back together, knock yourself out and use voodoo drops or stuff like that, which is the common name. Do yourself a big favor and do not put it in plastic toy car motors.
Well, you remember that I come from a background of HO racing, and that club, when I started going there, I was just about the only person who ran completely clean commutators, completely dry commutators. What they were all using at the time was a oil that was manufactured for lubrication and maintenance of hair clippers. Manufacturer
Mowing machine oil,
Wal, what, WAHL?
Yeah,
WAHL.
Wal oil is what I think they were all using. Yeah.
Yep.
And they were slathering it on commutators like it was worth the second a lap, but it wasn't, because I beat them.
As much as I love Inox, and I am the poster boy for Inox. Fantastic for analog and especially digital, where you gotta have a nice clean signal on the rails for digital slot cars.
Yeah.
I only use it very sparingly. I like apply Inox.
Well, this is the thing, you see. Ever since that car got that drop, it's never been able to gain the same step increase in power that it did the very first time.
So like years ago, I went through the trouble of doing around all my rails with an applicator and getting Inox on there, and then wipe off all the excess, and then never again. I mean, before that, basically every time I tried to use my track, the cars would be stuttering. So I'm like, okay, gotta clean my track, just like an HO racer or something. Gotta clean my track every time I race the cars. But then after doing the Inox, I never had to do that again. And then I'm like, well, this works so well, I must do it more, and so it'll be better. But then I made it worse. So you gotta not do it again. And then anytime I would ever have a car that wasn't performing perfectly, I would do my little braid trick and try to get the best contact with the braids and everything. And if that didn't work, then I would put just a tiny little drop on each braid and run the car around. And that pretty much always did the trick. I only ever use Inox for, other than that purpose, I use it for the bushings for axles, and one teeny little drop on the can end of a car so that it goes on the actual bushing in the motor, but never anything else. And I did do some stupidity and put some on motors so that they got onto the brushes and stuff, and there were no ill effects because it was already a crappy motor to begin with. But having the other experience and input from other people online and various things, it's definitely one of those too much of a good thing is a bad thing situation. Like pretty much any oil, I imagine you put too much of any oil on there. But the nice thing is that I pretty much never ever have to add any Inox anymore. I go and I put my car on the track and it goes. I never have to do anything else. Pretty much my only use of Inox anymore is to put one drop on each bushing of a car. That's it.
Yeah. We have at the, I was up at the commercial track today, and we now have signs up saying, please guys, don't put anything on your braid or brushes, because everybody wants to put some on their car, their turn and stuff. And it is oil, and oil attracts and holds dust. So the more you put on, the more it gets on the braid, the more it gets on the track, the more it gets on the rails. And very quickly, performance deteriorates quite rapidly because you've got this gooey mess that's attracting all kinds of dust and gunk. So the people who are helping out at the commercial tracks, unfortunately, have to go and clean the track off. And I don't like doing that. So
and you end up with braids that are coming up off the track because there's so much crap has gotten in there. It's just
releasing the glue.
Yeah, releasing the glue.
Wayne, your comment about the hair clipper oil, that is a very, very good lubricant for motors and bushings and wheels. That's all that I ever use.
Wall oil.
Yeah, the raw hair clipper oil. It's very good stuff. So you can find some, use it.
I can't find a difference between any oil. Nearly anything I could throw at a bushing is indiscernible from anything else. I've tried a few different things. I've got oils from RC car racing. I've got oils from slot car racing. They're all just
they're all going to be pretty light
yes.
spills.
Yeah.
If you go
sewing machine oils,
go get some 10W40 or whatever for diesel.
Well, interestingly, the Marvel Mystery Oil was obviously very, very old and would have gone into 2050 and old castor-based oils, but oils have come a long, long way since then. I'm a bit surprised that there's any necessity for it these days.
I don't know if I don't know who uses it still, but it's still available.
Greg, just as we're winding down, I wonder if I could do a little show and tell slide presentation.
Go ahead, Big Dan.
Sure, hell.
Yeah, on some of the, I'll just pop this on.
A show and tide presentation showing love.
Hey!
Just hang on. Right, yeah, it's a bit of a follow up on our single seat Can-Am. So some more pictures from the tracks in Hobart and the guys who moulded the bodies or cast them.
You're not sharing yet. You're still working on that?
Oh, hang on. Let me just go there.
Share, click, share.
Yeah, I clicked it.
Show us a picture of Luff again.
Oh, hang on. Whoops.
Is that a standard, Graham?
Yeah.
There we go.
Luff's the standard.
Are we right now?
Yeah, we go.
Yeah, indeed.
There we go.
Oh, we were.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa, you were ready for this.
Yeah, we've got some professionalism creeping in
Oh
there.
man, look at those things. Cool.
This is what I prepared earlier.
Like mine was.
Yeah. These are bodies from. I'll just go back one. These are molded. This is the track owned by the guy who molded the bodies. He calls his track Schumacher Park. Obviously, a Michael Schumacher fan. Now, can you see the full text there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just seeing a bit obscured. So, it's been run 2 or 3 times down by the Hobart guys, which means over the last 5 or 6 years. There's the ski, as Dennis mentioned last chat.
Love it.
Yeah. I think that's a McRae. Graham McRae was a well-known. Well, it says there, Formula 5000 driver.
And builder.
Yeah, and Bill, yeah. There's the overhead shot. A couple of the ones I showed you last week. And these two.
No, Big Dan, are those made of resin?
Yeah, they're resin, John. These two were sitting in a box a couple of feet from where I was last week, and I didn't realise after the chat had finished. So, And there's the wings are quite beefy and they take quite a bit of work to sand down so that they're not too heavy. But they're molded separately there. Some people just use an aftermarket wing they've got from another car. There's the HRS chassis that we use standard. I didn't have the original slotted motor, so as mentioned there, I used a sideways Baby Raptor, one of the 17,000K.
Oh, and you've got a brass tube in the front axle there as well.
I have. Yeah. I find it's more positive than the to locate it than using the grub screws bottom and top. As you can actually see, there's one assembly that holds the guide and one that just holds the axle, just to get the guide lead right, so it's under the body.
Now, is that some lead you've got in the center there as well?
That is some lead I've got in the centre, yes, John. Yeah, it's lead is king in the southern Tasmanian tracks.
Lead is your friend.
That is your friend. Yeah. Now we did. There was a mention of inter-series racing last time, and it was a mixture of cars. As I understand, was Can-Am sports modified formula cars of various formulas. So, what started off as a Lola F300 open wheeler with like motorcycle mudguards on it to turn it into a covered car. A Lola F3000 from Japan. The little story there is worth reading about the guy who bought that car and then he makes a couple of mentions of his cat getting bemused by what he was doing, and but he put an Indy Lights engine in it because the Ford DFV was too expensive.
Yeah.
So as you can see in the last paragraph, he did enjoy some success when he first raced it. I like the bit in the bottom of the paragraph preceding there. He said the guy showed him how to make the fenders and with the aircraft plywood encased in glass and epoxy. So that's I'd think a novel approach. Moving on a bit, that was a Lola T800. Oh, a T8800. I hadn't heard of that. Some sort of open wheeler. And
an Indy car.
That's an Indy car. Yeah, that's an Indy car.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, Indy car, of course. And there's the one with that's it with the body work on by the look of it.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All it needs is a license plate, some lights, and a windshield wiper and drive on the road.
Street registered, yeah. A Minardi F1, which I assume is a 1990 model by the M190 there, with the with the fenders added.
Interesting.
Obviously, that one would have started life as a Penske Indy car. Now that one's more likely. That's more likely to be a single seat Can-Am. That one I think was called
it. Budweiser Spider,
yeah. And that definitely I think was the Wolf Delara was.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the slot car would handle better than the actual car. That car was it was horrible.
Yeah. I think there was a company in Spain called Bum Slot, Barcelona Universal Models, that actually made that one.
Yeah, I mean that for that car, their company name was Apropos.
Oh. Yeah.
There's a thread on Slot Forum about that at the moment.
Yeah. We did mention, we were talking about the ISO fulcrum, and the principal Alan was bemused by it. So I dragged out the 32nd scale Cox Little Cucaracha. So that's just a couple of shots of the body and the chassis separately.
Now, Dan, is that an original Cox or is it an REH?
It's an REH. I think I say that on. You've been looking at my slideshow, have you, John?
Sorry, yeah, I did. Yeah, sorry.
So, there you go. Look there. Many was sold by REH.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah. How about that? I actually read some. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But that's one of that center section, the motor section, is one of the early ones because it takes the 13 Euro Johnson 111 size can. The later ones were bigger because they took the 16D can.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't seen any of those, Dennis. Yeah. So there
Oh.
it is up. There it is upside down. And you can see that the front axle with the wheels just clips into holders in the bodywork. So there's the side view of the chassis, obviously, and these take the can you see? Oh yeah, I'm pointing there. Yeah, these take 1/4 OD oil lights. So I've got three. Yeah, they originally came with 1/8 axles, but I've got it set up to have 3/32 axles.
Dan, can I just interrupt for a minute? But you've raised the bar so high on show and tells. I think I'm never going to show anything again.
No.
Well, I was sort of after some of the like Alan's bodies and things like that I was going to be an anti-climax with all that wonderful stuff that was going on earlier. There you can see the what is actually where the bearings or the oil lights go in through the because this is where this effectively becomes the body mount, as you'll see a bit later on when I show the assembled chassis. So there it is. So the aluminium or the aluminum part of the chassis, sorry Dennis, clips around the outside of the plastic mounts. I've got the oil light sitting out a bit there so you can see it, and so in effect the whole there's the drop arm effect. So the back axle becomes the pivot point for the drop arm with the motor and everything mounted on it, and it's also serves as the rear, well, the rear and the only body mounts because there's no front body mounts, obviously. That was a little thing. I'm not sure. Chris will probably tell me whether there's any engineering credibility to it, but I did hear way back that the actual turning force of the axle, provided some gyroscopic effect that might drive the thing into the slot, but that's probably a little bit.
You didn't hear that from the guy who said the world was flat, did you?
No, only slot car tracks are flat.
Do you mean it's not flat?
Well, parts of it are flat.
Yeah.
That's a great theory. Unfortunately, it's not a correct theory.
Yeah. So the world isn't flat.
Well, depends.
Depends on who you talk to.
Okay, here's a little couple of slides for Alan. These are the
slotted ones.
Sorry, Chris.
Good.
I'll put that in for Chris. He doesn't like bell end as a term. So these are the smaller slotted classic sports cars, and they only came in with sidewinder pods because of the full interior and cockpit and driver there. There's the bottom shot clearly showing the in-bell drive. In line with Chris's theory that sometimes less is better. I've got a scale extric motor in the Alpha, and it handles quite well, and it's not too much slower than the other cars. So it's just on the sort of tracks we run on. There's not long straights and sweeping bends, so something that's drivable is an advantage. And then just a bit of self-indulgence. I've wasted this bottom comment because Martin isn't on today, I don't think so. Down his way they call Launceston, Launceston. So
that's okay, Dan. We'll make sure he sees it. Don't worry.
Required viewing for Martin. That's the track that, as I said, sadly is no more. The guy had to vacate that owns it. Had to vacate the warehouse where it was located, and so that was very handy being just 5 minutes from home. A couple of pictures of the fields that our meeting last Saturday. A bit of self-indulgence there again with me running second by a lap or something there in the Thunder slot Lola. A couple of other Thunder slots, but mainly slotted cars. Most of those, although I think the 23 car at the back is an NSR. There's our classic F1 field. I didn't shine in that one either. unfortunately. But I think everything else bar my car was a poly car.
Yeah.
So they're quite popular and work quite well. And there's our under 2 litre class. They're a mixture of brass chassis cars and plastics. And finally, I thought for you fellas who can't get out to your local club to race, and we hope that changes fairly quickly.
Good job.
Very
That's
cool.
all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was really
Very
nice.
nice.
And
Very good.
if anybody wants to do a full-fledged presentation, just give me a heads up. I will make sure that you get the appropriate
Time.
focus and dedication that such a presentation is due. I think
That was great.
That
Well
was
done.
yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Well,
Thank you so
thank you for
much.
that positive feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, fellas.
Yeah.
Super good.
You know, however much work you want to put into a thing, if you just want to hold some cars up, if you want to just share some pictures, if you want to do what Big Dan just did with a full-on slideshow presentation, and you want to do a thing, you just send me or whoever a message, just so that we can get a little heads up, so that we're not like accidentally, because it's never intentional. I guarantee you guys holding up your hands in cars and shit is not intentional, that I miss what you're wanting to share. So just let me know and we'll make sure you get to share your thing. Alan, next week, you're doing a water dip presentation. We're going to hold you to that. So
That's
don't
gonna
have
be
any
cool.
accidents in the meantime. Does anybody else have anything they want to show and tell? Since we started late, we'll go ahead and run the recording a few more minutes late. What you got there?
Well, just before we leave, the ski, you have to see a real one. They're just
Wow.
spectacular looking.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Super cool.
What is it?
It's
a ski.
That's the real car of what we just saw in the demo. It was a ski. SKE.
SCH.
Yeah.
SCHKEE.
This
Was it a
was part
successful
of
car?
this is a Formula 5000 car, basically. So this was part of the series after 75, 76, where they went from driver on either the left or the right side of the car to the center of the car, because it was a single seater with fenders and stuff on it. Unbelievably cool looking car. That's all I wanted to show you.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Are you kidding me? Why haven't they made slot cars of that? What is the deal?
Oh, I raced that as a vac form body years ago.
Yep.
We loved that. We loved that body as a vac form body.
Very cool.
Better bodies in the UK used to make it.
Yeah.
They probably still do. I think I might still have one lying around here. It's actually
And was it a
built one up
successful
again.
race car? Was
Sorry?
it successful? Was it a successful full-size race car?
The ski, yeah, it won a couple of races, I seem to remember.
I mean, is that why Scalextric and Carrera and Ninco and whatnot have not made these, because they're just not enough of something?
But there was only ever one of those, yeah. Plus, I think that after the Group 7 Can-Am, the single seat Can-Am was like a redhead stepchild kind of series, and nobody really paid as much attention to it.
Well, niche waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's what I was saying lastly.
Yeah.
I've got a slight variation on Chris's fly front end modifications.
Front end fly day.
Can you see that?
Yep.
Dennis has been doing something bad with his thumb.
What I did here was I
Hold it up a little bit higher.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I used two stub axles. They fit from they're pushed into the wheel, and then they go through the regular uprights of the fly front end, and they stop around just before halfway. And this little piece of brass tubing slips over them, and then these two collars are locked onto the axle, right? So what that piece of brass tubing does is it stabilizes the whole thing, and the collars stop everything from flying out, but also allow you, if you wanted to be able to adjust the width at the front, you could actually unlock that set screw and slide it out a little. But then it's completely independent, and it still has a little bit of vertical float if you want it, but all of that wobble is gone.
How is it independent?
Because the axle does not go all the way through. The axles stop just before the center of the car inside this tube.
Dennis, can you show us how they rotate independently, please?
Yeah.
Up. Higher.
Hold it up.
All right, so I'm gonna hold that one, and I'm gonna rotate that one.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, so
that piece of tubing is not attached. It's just
okay.
The axles are rotating inside the tubing.
So the tubing is more of a spacer, I guess, right?
It's a spacer and an alignment bar and an alignment.
To keep them from doing this, right?
Yeah, to keep them from flopping up and down.
Yeah.
But it still gives you a little bit of vertical movement that was originally in the uprights of the axle of the chassis, which sometimes is nice. Now that works great on some of the fly cars. The one that Chris was showing, which had its body mount right there, it's not going to work. But if you've got a front motor where the motor is sitting in there, it doesn't work. This is out of a 9083 Fly. Worked really well. Just as something different.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
And that motor box is a pod, is it?
Yeah, this is the original Fly. I'm just turning the thing down. This is the original Fly chassis with that the normal Fly Sidewinder motor box in the back.
My 911 GT198 loses to one of those.
Yeah, probably it would.
There, if Phil's still on here, you can do a lot. You can make the Fly things just scream.
What would you do?
These are the 908-3s were really nice, and the 908-2s were really nice little cars, as well as like the Chevrons.
Yep.
They were really good as well from Fly.
Most of the we run those a ton, and everybody's got a half a dozen of those. We run those in the Fly early Le Mans series with all those things, and all the quickest cars have that motor pod glued into the chassis plate.
You actually glue them in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that one glued in at some stage. I've had it shoe glued in. It very much depends on how the rear end of the pod is mounted into the body.
Yep.
Sometimes there's chassis all the way around and the rear end is mounted onto the chassis. Sometimes they're screwed directly into the body.
Yep.
And on the 908-3s, which is what that one is, right? One of those.
Side mounted, right?
It's the rear screw goes straight into the rear body post.
Yeah, but you don't need.
So you can start playing because it has side mounts for the body as well.
Yeah.
It's got 4 screws to mount the body, but then it's got that extra screw at the back of the pod. So you can start playing with that to get movement and flex in the back end of the car, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, we normally for the 908-3s will glue the pod in and just eliminate that whole back screw totally.
Oh, okay.
And by gluing the pod in, do you mean stopping it from working like a pod and just making it part of the base plate?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Solid chassis.
And we've sort of gone on this, like, to have a pod, it's how the whole chassis flex, and that those chassis are so soft torsionally. Putting the motor pod in just improves a whole bunch.
And you probably use, I mean, Shugu has a little bit of flex to it anyway. So if you're using,
yeah, but you know, the whole thing flexes so much, Craig. Like even glued in, you can grab that chassis with the pod glued in with whatever you want to glue it in, and the whole thing still is very soft torsionally.
What would you do to one of those front motor Flies?
Well,
If the front motor flies, you got to do it the way that Chris showed with the little stub axles.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, just lock everything down as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And just get rid of the spring and use some guys use the inner tubes from a Bic pen. I use, and I know a lot of people use, just stereo speaker cabling, like the sheathing from a stereo speaker.
Yeah, that's what I use, and it works brilliantly.
It improves the car massively.
Yeah.
To do what?
Within
Join the prop
Join
shaft
the
to
motor
the
to
rear
the
of the
drive
motor.
shaft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that takes up any misalignment, I guess.
Yes, I mean, there's all, a company called Slick 7 used to make actually a double flange 2mm ID bushing for the prop shaft, which helped. And I mean, there's a ton of things you can do to make them work quite well, but within the limitations of a front motored car.
Yeah.
On some of my fly pods, like the 9083, I've actually drilled through just in front of the motor box there, where it overlays the main chassis, and just put through some 10 or 8 BA, model railway screws and nuts, and that holds it together if it needs to be a fixed pod. And you can always, and then if you want to let it float, you can just take the bolts and nuts out of it, or you can let them have a bit of play or something like that. So it gives you a bit of adjustment if you're allowed to do that by your local rules.
Yeah.
What are you showing, Mike?
I've got the slotted pod mounted in my 9083.
Oh yeah, you just
I
cut
know
out a
it
big
too.
old hole.
Yeah. Nice.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
And way too hot a motor in it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is any
You can never have too hot a motor. You can only just have not enough traction.
There you go.
That's true.
And then when you've got enough traction, all you've not got is enough motor.
Turn the green knob down, Mike. Turn the green knob.
Yeah, right.
That's what Alan says. Traction, right?
Yeah.
First thing.
I haven't figured that one out yet, other than magnets. So,
Yeah.
But we won't go there.
So in terms of the fact that the new series in the Formula One begins this coming weekend, and Dennis showed us a Red Bull Formula One car just a little earlier. I don't know whether anyone else has spotted it, but I'm a subscriber to the Red Bull Formula One racing team on YouTube, and they've recently released their first publicity video, which features both Checo Perez and Max Verstappen together, playing together, and they are playing slot cars in the factory.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
that was that's this week released, and they actually go from racing slot cars. And Checo Perez in the video says that me and my dad did this together for ages when I was a kid.
That's how most racers start.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, absolutely. Hamilton.
But then they go on to electric Hondas, the new Honda Mini City car, the little electric Hondas, and then they go on to Honda side by sides, which are like a little off-roady thing, and they go into Honda NSXs, which are now they're now at the circuit, and then they black round the circuit in those, and then eventually they sit in the F1 cars, and they're not allowed to move because there's no testing. There's no more of that left. So yeah, that's a neat little video that I noticed on YouTube. I just recommend that you go and have a look if you.
Red Bull have used slot cars in a lot of their things over the years because they do a lot of their promotions prior to every race. They used to do it at one stage when Danny Ricciardo was still there, and they would have a slot car set up with the exact corners of the track that they were going to, and then he would stand there and they would mix from him to the cars and explaining about the corners and one turn after the other.
One of my favorite ones is the one he did for Canada. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they were cool, and they did them all. Not sure
I
whether
only
it was
recently
Scalex or
discovered it in
Carrera, but I
this.
think it's Carrera that they use.
Carrera
Well,
who has the licensing, yeah.
they were using Scalectric in this one. I'm pretty sure. It's only a short segment at the beginning
Yeah,
of the video.
I've seen it. I just don't remember.
Oh, Williams has always had a track. There is a quite a good sized track in Paragon, which is McLaren's base in Woking. And there's been lots of, actually Ross Braun was a major slot car. guy for-
Yes, I'm aware of that. Maurizio Ferrari's friend, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, Ross Braun was part of HB Models way back when he was kind of just out of high school. I mean, he actually made his living building slot car chassis way back. Yeah.
He had lots of art. I've still got a couple of the old magazines where, and I used them when I first started modifying the size of the motor that we saw in the little Cucaracha, like the little FT13UOs. And they used to use those in a lot of club racing. And Ross Braun did quite a few I did a couple of articles on modifying the
13 euros. Yeah, I remember those in the model car racing from the UK. Yeah, Model Cars magazine.
And plus, if you do a Google search, you'll see Senna racing slot cars in Brazil, Emerson Fittipaldi, Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal with a believe it or not, a Strombecker set, because Strombecker at that time was owned by and run out of Canada. So there racers and slot cars go hand in hand. Absolutely.
Well, there's the old footage of four Grand Prix racers: Sterling Moss, Jackie Stewart,
Graham Hill.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, don't forget. Well, Jim Clark only asked for two sponsorship or two things that he wanted to lend his name to. One was driving gloves, and they were made of, I think, kangaroo leather out of Australia, and the other was Scalectric.
And did they appear on his car?
No. There was no sponsor. No, but he did that like outside of his driving. In fact,
that's part of his rider.
Pardon me, sorry.
Part of his rider.
Well, I don't know about that, but he actually went to Scandinavian Scalectrics meets and handed out awards and stuff. He loved it. He really did.
Graham, I saw you kind of hinting earlier. Did you have something you wanted to say or ask or show?
I just got 1 minute just to mention. I found an app for iPad, phones, whatever. Probably works on Android, things too. It's called Lap Tracker. And I don't know whether anybody's used it, but I loaded it the other day. It was $3 or something. And you just point it at your track and you can set how many laps you want it to do. It'll record them and it'll tell you which one's the fastest. And you can also do 4 lanes at one time. And it'll have 4 little sections will appear on, like my iPad I used it on. 4 little squares will appear, and when some activity happens in those squares, then it counts that lap, and then you get a printout at the end that you can push the save button.
So it uses the camera, does it?
It uses the camera built in. I gather it'll work on your phone. I just took my iPad and stood it. I just got my temporary setup track, routed little track to run on. I just pointed my iPad at it just on an angle, and then I ran a car around. I set it for like 8 laps. It recorded them all, highlighted what the fastest one was. I didn't do multiple lanes because I don't have multiple lanes on my test track, but I assume in multiple lanes it'll probably tell you the fastest of each lane and who won. And it gives you a total time and a lap time for each lap, and it costs $3. And there's no wires, there's no setup, there's nothing to it. You just got to point it at the track, and it'll do for slot cars. It'll do for, they say it'll do for other stuff too,
Well, I imagine there's some people at the NSA just kind of scratching their heads at that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was designed primarily for those ones that race in troughs that basically are just
the Tamiya ones, right?
The Tamiya things. Yeah.
But it uses the camera and sets zones. What was it called? Lap tracker?
Lap tracker.
Lap tracker. Yeah.
It was $3 to load. But I'd say there's no wiring. You could go anywhere and just use this. You just pop it up in a couple of books,
Point your,
you know, or whatever you need to point at a track, and it's done. So,
Cool.
you know, I say I haven't tried it in a multiple lane yet.
With what you guys have saved on those fly cars, you could like buy a couple for all your devices, no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I've used a variety of those kind of things that like use the magnetic that like use the Hall sensors in the phone and stuff like that, and some that use cameras, but ones that use the camera for up to 4 lanes.
Yeah, that's special.
That's pretty special. Yeah. So Lap Track.
Yeah, I've got an app called Lap Tracks, TRAX.
I've heard of that one.
And that one works on the single lane, works really good, really fine on my phone. Just put it up, switch it on next to the track, and as you go around it gives you lap times.
Yeah,
That probably uses,
Simple.
yeah, I was gonna say that probably uses NFC, probably, Dennis, like near field communication.
No, I think it's just the camera.
Oh, is the camera? Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, the one that I've used utilizes the sensors that are built into the electronics of the phone, not the camera, but it has various.
You can hear it with the mic.
Magnetic sensors and whatnot that it senses.
Yeah, like NFC, for example, for tapping to pay, and
Yeah. Except it's not an NFC in the car actually being detected. It's the motor of the car being detected as it goes by or whatever. However it works, but like Dennis's only works for 1 lane. You know, one.
Yeah, I've never tried. I use it on my little autocross track, so it's generally only 1 lane at a time anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna set up some track and set up a couple of lane and give it a try. I found it the other day. I think it's new. I have no idea how long it's been out. I heard about it. I went over, paid my $3, and you know, and it seemed to work pretty good.
And that's $3 Canadian, Graham.
$3 Canadian, yeah.
So what's that, like a buck?
That's like pocket change, right?
It's basically pocket lint.
No problem, no biggie.
Mike, what were you showing? I saw you pick up something.
Oh, nothing. I was just playing with my Formula One.
Talking about Formula Ones, I made a change to my NSR Formula One the other day. I don't know whether Alan's still on, but and Chris, but I took out the long can motor. You know, it has a 21K long can motor. Took that out, put in the short can 25K NSR, the little light blue one with the same gearing as was in the 21. Man, what a wonderful car.
Yeah,
it is so much better
Yeah.
on my wood track. It's absolutely, it's chalk and cheese because I've dropped 12 grams in weight, and it's 12 grams at the back of the car that's gone, right? And the handling is absolutely transformed.
Is there a torque difference?
Every lawn can that I have, if anybody's looking for them, I got a bunch. I refuse to use them now. They're not, I don't race on a plastic track, so I don't need the magnetic effect of a lawn can.
It made a massive difference to that car.
Yeah.
And then I got one more thing before I go. Last week I showed you the NSR 917. I got a set of decals from a guy in Indiana called IndyCals, or in Ohio called IndyCals. Yeah. He makes this set of decals he makes a number of them, but this particular set for the 917-10 is the Jody Scheckter Vasek Polak car. They're sized for the AMT or AMF 132nd scale car, so they're not quite perfect on the NSR, but oh man, it came out so nice.
That's really great.
Yeah, that does.
I just thought I'd let you see them. And again, really nice decals. Water slides, Greg, but
he does a great job on the decals. All of his decals are great.
They're very nice indeed. I did put an extra coat or two of clear on them before I used them, just to be sure. But they came out really nice. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
So you spray painted them while it was still on the sticker sheet.
Oh, sorry. Apparently, Interlagos Miniatures does not do a Jody Scheckter helmet.
Not that I know of. So that was my rather amateurish attempt at a Jody Scheckter helmet. Once they do, I will replace it. but
Mhm.
it's one of those silly little NSR tiny little helmets anyway.
Well,
With all,
and the mirrors are,
yeah,
I don't know what scale those
they
are.
picked that off one of Wayne's HO cars, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that said. You
Wayne,
got the HO interior.
yeah, I actually sprayed the decal sheet with clear before I used it.
Yeah.
Before I cut
That's
them out.
interesting.
There's a
Really?
company here called Papilio who make a lot of decal and printing papers and so on and so on. They sell a specific spray for doing just that, for spraying decal sheets, and that's what I use for the decals, because then I know that it's not going to affect them, and that it gives them UV protection and a couple of other things. But I think you can use the IndyCal ones without it, because he probably has already done some kind of spray, but I like to give it a little bit more.
Does it not? Does it stiffen them and make them a little bit different to handle?
Yeah, they are a little tougher. I wouldn't say stiffer, but I think they're tougher. They handle the abuse a little better. Like, you know, those long stripes behind the next to the mirrors going all the way back to the underneath the wing. That's all one piece, 2 stripes, and it meant that you could you know dissolve release the glue and then put it down there and just basically pull the backing out from underneath it, and it just pulled out easily, and the decal just conformed to the body. It worked really well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to push those low lines down into the recesses in the body.
No, well, there are not very many recesses. I did put a little bit of microsol just in the door, the door recesses, and a little bit. There's one duct right here that I haven't blackened the back of the ducts yet. So there, to settle it in, I did put a little blob of microsol in there.
The last time I did anything with water slide transfers was on the 60s and 70s Scalextric when I was a child, and I can remember picking them up on the tip of a knife blade and putting them into place, and then putting my finger on them and leaving them with an imprint of my thumb on the sticker.
If you have a tip for anyone on decals, if you have a really complex curved surface, you can use a little bit of microsol or microset, get it roughly into position, and then go at it with a hair dryer. And the hair dryer will completely conform the deck. You swear you've painted it on.
Oh, really? Yeah. Just be careful if you're not using a hairdryer, but using a hair gun, and a heat gun, because they can get a little too hot.
Yeah.
But a hairdryer is actually just about the right temperature.
Yeah.
Good.
This is for Chris.
Oh.
Yeah, long cans, stack of long cans. Well, that's a good place to stop the recording at. As always, we welcome people to come to live recordings and stay for the whole thing and long after, because these guys are probably going to chat for another hour and a half. But for now, we'll wave goodbye and hit the stop button. Bye. Bye.
Thanks,
guys.